Now we are going all the way to Germany for our next speaker. Florian, can you hear me?
Yes, clear and loud.
All right, great. Okay, so let me just give a quick intro for Florian. He's a full professor in aquatic ecosystem research and the dean of the Faculty of Biology at the University of Duisburg-Essen in Germany. And among his many accomplishments, he was chair of the Horizon 2020 project that many of you know of and have been involved with, the DNA aquatic, developing DNA-based methods for standardized biomonitoring of aquatic ecosystems. And the focus of that was on method standardization and implementation, and involved 49 nations and over 500 people. Okay, so with that, Florian, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot. Yes, great pleasure to be here, at least virtually. Really apologies that I couldn't make it. Just too crowded, we're in the middle of the term, and as the dean, there are too many boring duties that I cannot resist them. Anyway, I thought it could have been a clever idea that I would have just recorded Alejandro's talk and just played it in double speed, because I think I will not bring a lot of new things, because I 100% agree with what Alejandro showed. Often there's like 10% of things where I deviate, but I would say that was close to 100. But still, maybe there's one or two things that are a bit different here. First of all, I will focus on eDNA, DNA metabarcoding in my talk, not so much on the single species assays. And at the moment, there's something funny going on here in Germany. So I received in the last 2 days many emails, all sending me an article, a PDF from the journal Entomologische Zeitschrift. So few of you will be able to read it, but the title basically reads Metabarcoding versus Morphological Identification. Does it live up to the expectations? And the answer is no, it does not. So excellent taxonomic experts created mock communities of organisms they identified, and then they sent them out to 2 companies in Germany. And then they compared the results, and company 1 found 56% of the species, company 2, 35%. If you look at the overlap of those 2 companies, it's less than 25%. So basically the outcome was the method is not really working. At least we can at the moment not trust if we send a sample to a company, and I guess they are right in that respect. So I think we shouldn't throw the baby with the bathwater. That's the wrong audience. So you all know that the method actually works. But I just saw this picture 20 minutes ago from Alejandro's nasal slides. At the moment in Germany, we have 1 week, 1 damn week. Everybody talks to me, your method is not working. It's called get look into Entomologische Zeitschrift. It's not that simple. We know that we've been through this trough a couple of times. But the point is, this discrepancy will not vanish if we just keep on going. And if we've learned one thing in Europe, it's that it's extremely bad if you try to bring things together after they all have diverged. We did this the past 20 years with the Water Framework Directive. Now we have over 430 intercalibrated methods across the countries. Let's not do that again. That's actually my take-home message. Let's really try to share quickly our experience at global level. I could stop here, but yeah, my vision is, I may be sitting here in Germany, you now in Canada, but our vision is that we have comparable data across the globe. We want to have these weather stations so that we see where is biodiversity disappearing, rain shifts, etc., so that we can act. And so far, we realized the traditional approach is not fast enough. It has advantages, but eDNA and DNA-based methods are faster and much more comprehensive. And I mean, you know those stories. That's one of the key results of the Aquanet. I should say that is 1 lab that did it. I have no ring test data for that, but it's strongly plausible data that we see here from the mouth of the one of Europe's longest rivers to the source on fish species. We now produce data from Malaise traps. Within 12 weeks, 4,000 samples. It's easy. We can wash off the rain from the trees to generate arthropod species list of things that live there. In a scientific framework, we know it really, really works. The problem is, in Europe, we still face, and this week in particular, a roadblock that people again now pull back a little. So we are making progress, but with the exception of the great crested newt monitoring in England, in the United Kingdom, there is no legally employed eDNA-based or DNA-based monitoring program.
That was so riveting.
The concept is different, we measure slightly different, but the technology doesn't seem to be there. So the question is, we made a survey, or Europabon did this survey, where is the technology readiness level? And you see, it's similar between artificial intelligence and environmental DNA. People see it from technology readiness level 1 to number 9. And of course, we know it's not one method. So it's really different if we speak about, let's say, algae assessments based on RBCL versus single species 12S identification. I think one important point is, often we are still being addressed with the fact you have to reach 100%. So this mock community had 500, I don't know, 79 species. Only if you identify every single of them reliably, we will start accepting the method. We know, and the COVID-19 pandemic has shown to us, we can use a quite crappy test that is still very, very usable. Our eDNA-based methods are often much better. So I think we have to, and you all agree with me, I guess, we will rarely hit the same spot. So the black is not at the same spot when we compare traditional fish or whatever monitoring data with eDNA. The point is, if it can generate accurate, reproducible data, that's all fine if the target is a little different. Then we can actually compare the different targets and intercalibrate them. So gut content when I talk about organisms, but also the drifting differences. So yes, I think it's very important when we communicate, looking at such an article, that we stress the fact it's 100% right, this should not happen. The deviation is by far too strong. Interlab variation must be brought down. But the point is, 100% similarity to a measurement done somewhere else cannot be what we would expect. I think an important and essential aspect, and I see this all around the globe, that we realize the reference databases are a key issue at the moment. We have lots of fantastic data, and then the strange things here and there. And now many of us are starting to develop routines how to improve this, setting it up de novo or filtering it, flagging it. I think we really need to link amongst ourselves to find strategies that we have not 100 different solutions. The moment we are working on one such solution funded by the federal German embassy through a European platform, I think that's very important that it's not European, it should be global. And for animals, of course, all systems is one of our key resources, so the connection is very obvious, in particular to Guelph. And that's one nice result from a aquatic ring test, which was terrible, I would say. At least when you looked at the outcome. So 7 labs doing very similar things, and the outcome was very different. Some labs finding 30%, the next one up to, let's say, 90%. But then it actually turns out that there was one key factor that needs to be considered, and that's the x-axis. And that's sequencing depth, read count. And things like that are so easy to standardize, depending on the habitat, the organisms, the markers that you look at. You can request a certain, yes, of course, water volume to filter or amount of tissue to process or soil, but also sequencing depth. And I think these are the low-hanging fruits we should target very quickly. But I also fully agree with Alejandro that it's very important that we communicate also the downsides of the methods. I think we have to be very honest. I realized this created a lot of eDNA literacy, at least here in Europe, so you can really discuss with people very honestly about limitations of primal sequencing depth, etc. And that created a lot of trust into the community. I think it's just a bad week. Next week, people will realize this is one of the papers that shows a problem that can be solved quickly. I'm a bit worried that now many of us have so clever solutions that we need some sort of a communication channel to leverage our experiences. Otherwise, we will have 200 cool proficiency testing schemes, which means 199 people may have made a lot of investment brain-wise, where they could have saved the world or anything else by developing a proficiency testing scheme. So we should think about how we can have means to quickly exchange if we found a very good solution. So I would be very happy to learn about a really simple, well, that's not possible, but a proficiency testing scheme to implement here. We are working on that as well. Through the Aquanet, we have Christian Meissner from the Finnish Environment Institute. He always argued, stop writing papers, write standards. He's not, well, he's from the public authorities. He said, if I shall use your method, stop writing papers about errors, etc., make them operational. That's what we did in Europe. We have the European standard that came out. Those people here were really heavily involved in that, and we have guidelines. So I think the important point is now the global level. And that's what we highlighted here. We went to the United Nations Scientific Summit, accompanying the General Assembly in 2022, the 77. And this is what we are now looking at in Germany. Looking at standardization, we have like layer 1, the base layer, so like ISO 9001. It will not help us a lot, but it's a base layer, minimum criteria. Then the proficiency testing scheme, I think, is essential, this one. At the moment, most of us look at this layer 3, technical minimum requirements. They're good, but it's like a cooking book. If I read a cooking book and I try to do something, it's very different to what other people do with the same cooking book. So I think layer 4 is essential, that using reference samples, blind samples, we have like a quality control a posteriori, and then give people a lot of freedom, allowing them what they want to do. So we have to be pragmatic, but I think ISO level is very important. You heard from Merdan Hatibabe probably about the efforts he's pushing forward. I can only just back this up 100%. Yeah, I just want to mention this quality management framework alone and the technical minimum requirements. We tried this with the Aquanet. It alone will not be enough. With that, yeah, let's work together. Let's look at the global level. Let's look at ISO and other global frameworks. Thanks a lot for inviting me, and happy to answer questions or join the panel discussions later on.